Annyeonghaseyo, my name is Sittie Sahria GURO and I'll be discussing about the South Korea's environmental sociology and intercensal analysis. So this presentation is all about an intercensal analysis of the country South Korea. It is a 10-year gap analysis to see the difference a decade after. Two 10-year gap datasets from the years 2001 to 2011 and 2011 to 2021 were used to see how South Korea changed throughout these years. The variables were population, birth, the rate of natural increase, infant mortality rate, total fertility rate, percent of population, ages below 15 and 65 above years old, and life expectancy at birth for both males and female. So we are all familiar with K-pop, K-dramas, kimchi, samgyeopsal, and these are all came from and originated in South Korea. South Korea occupies the southern portion of Korean Peninsula. Korean, or the Hangulgyo, is their language. Hangul is the writing system of the Korean language. So South Korea is the capital and the largest metropolis of the South Korea. South Korea is one of the biggest economies in Asia and among the 4 Asian tiger countries, which also includes the Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. So in this section, with the use of two 10-year gap datasets of South Korea, the data were compared in line with the mentioned different variables. So this table shows the summative matrix containing the included variables. So how the population of South Korea has grown into 10-year gap datasets. In 2001, the estimated population of South Korea was 48.8 million people. After 10 years, in 2011, when the population was estimated at 49 million people, only 200,000 people were added. In 2021, the population increased by 2.8 million, giving us a total of 51.8 million for this year. This gave us an idea that the growth rate of the population of South Korea is low. So in this graph, it shows the number of births per 1,000 population in South Korea. In 2001, there were a total of 14 births per 1,000 population. After 10 years, in 2011, there was a decrease of 5 births, which gave us 9 births per 1,000 population this year. In 2021, the number of births fell further, reaching 5 births per 1,000 population. Many theories suggest that the primary causes for the declining birth rate are women increasing presence in high education attainment and the workforce not met by an equal increase in male presence in childcare and domestic responsibility. Thus, many women forego having children for the sake of career development and the nation birth rates decreases. So this graph showed the number of deaths per 1,000 population in the years 2001, 2011, and 2021. In 2001, there were 5 deaths per 1,000 population, the same number of deaths in 2011. In 2021, 6 deaths per 1,000 population were reported. So on the natural increase rate of natural increase in South Korea in two 10-year data sets. The value represents the estimated population growth without regard to migration. In 2001, the rate of natural increase was 0.9. After 10 years in 2011, there was a decrease in the rate which fell to 0.4. Whereas in 2021, there was a decline in rate because the rate was negative 0.1. This is because the number of births in 2021 was also decreasing because of the low birth rate in South Korea. So this graph is all about the annual number of deaths of infants under age 1 per 1,000 live births. In 2001, the infant mortality rate was 5.8. After 10 years, there was a drastic decrease in 2011 because it fell to 3.2. In 2021, the infant mortality rate had continued to decline at a rate of 2.7. So in this graph, it shows the total fertility rate in the years 2001, 2011, and 2021. In 2001, the total fertility rate was 1.5. The total fertility rate of 1.2 was seen in 2011. And finally, in 2021, the total fertility rate was 0.8. It gives us an idea that there is a decrease in fertility rate in South Korea as time goes on. South Korea was the only country whose total fertility rate stayed below 1% among 38 member countries of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. South Korea recorded the lowest fertility rate in the world of 0.92, meaning that on average, women having less than one child. So this graph shows the percent of population in South Korea from the ages below 15 and 65 above years old. For those ages under 15 years old, 22% were recorded in 2001, 16% in 2011, and 12% in 2021. Those over 65 years old accounted for 7% in 2001, 13% in 2011, and 17% in 2021. We can see that the percent of the population ages below 15 years old was decreasing as time went on, whereas at ages above 65 years old, it is continually increasing. So this graph shows the average number of years a newborn infant can expect to live under current mortality rates. For males in 2001, the life expectancy at birth was 71 years. In 2011, the life expectancy at birth in males was increased with 6 years and becoming 77 years old. In 2021, 80 years was recorded to be life expectancy at birth for males. In females, 78 years life expectancy at birth in 2001, 84 years for 2011, and 86 years for 2021. So the implication of this cost variable is that as the population grows, more people require more resources. In addition, the population growth also leads to negative impact on the environment, such as increasing wastewater, household waste, and other industrial waste due to the human has increased their activity of industrial production. Also, low fertility rate could diminish South Korea's potential economic growth to less than 2% as the labor force declines. This lack of economic growth could affect South Korea's sovereign credit and fiscal strength after 2030. South Korea's extremely low fertility rate will also result in a rapidly increasing aging population. People aged 65 and older made up 16.5% of South Korea's population in the year 2021. Highlighting concern that the fast-aging demographic transition could pose a drag on the country's economy. So, conclusion. Intercensal analysis on a country is an effective method to give us an idea on how a country changes throughout the years. Knowing the size of population of a country is important in making environmental decisions. As human population grows, human demands for resources like water, lands, trees, and energy also grows. So in this paper, the country South Korea was chosen. South Korea is known to have a low fertility rate in the world. Reports said that the country is widely expected to become a super-aged society in 2025. So thank you for watching. Kamsahamnida. I hope you learned a lot from this presentation. Annyeonghaseyo, guligu, saranghayo, yuribun.
Konnichiwa minna, my name is ALAWI Ruffaidah and I am here to discuss to you about the Japan Intercensal analysis in the year 2001, 2011, and 2021. So let's start. So a little report outlined about what are we going to discuss in this morning. So number one is the background of the country, which is the Japan. only brief history. And number 2 is the data or the variables, the data for the year of the 2001, 2011, and 2021, the population millions in the year of those 3 years, and birth and deaths per 1,000 population in the year also of those 3, infant mortality rate per 1,000 birth, population age greater than 15%, and the population greater than age of 64. And number 6 is the life expectancy at birth. And number 7 of our variables is the GNIPP per capita US dollar. So, and the number 2 is the implication to the environment. And last but not the least is the conclusion of our discussion topic of the intercensal analysis of the Japan. So a little background or a brief history of our country, which is the Japan. So Japan is an island nation in East Asia located in the Pacific Ocean. It borders China, North Korea, South Korea, Russia, Taiwan, the Sea of Japan, the Sea of Okhotsk, and the East China Sea. It is an archipelago of 6,852 islands, most of which are mountainous and many are volcanic. The government system is a parliamentary government with a constitutional monarchy. The chief of state is the emperor and the head of government is the prime minister. Japan has a market economy in which the prices of goods and services are determined in a free price system. So, also, Japan is a member of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) and the Partnership of the TPP. So, the long history of Japan, which is believed to have begun as far as back as the prehistoric era, it can be divided into 4 periods: the prehistoric, and ancient, classical, medieval, and the modern. This period, which lasted until 250 AD, is referred to as Yayoi, meaning new life, in the reference to an area in Tokyo where artifacts from this area were unearthed. The year 250 to 538 witnessed the earliest documented history of Japan. The classical period opened with a big leap in the political, social, and artistic aspect of Japanese society, including the fusion of the Yamato rule and the beginnings of Buddhism in Japan. This formative stage is known as Asuka period. So, after it was defeated in the World War II, Japan was occupied by foreign rule for 7 years. So we have here the first variable of our intercensal analysis, the table 1 data for the years 2001, 2011, and 2021. So as we can see in the table, we have here the whole detail of our variables that to be discussed in the next slide of the following slides. So let's proceed. So we have here is the table 2 population millions in the years 2001, 2011, and 2021. So if we're going to, so the table 2 shows the population data from the intercensal of the given years. So in a clear manner using the histogram, it is shown that in the year 2011, has the most rising of the population, reaching from 128.1, which is the highest point in the given years, while in the year 2001 get 1.27, and in 2021 we have here the 1.25.4. So the population decreased from 1.28.1 to 1.25.4. So one thing we can say about why this is happening is maybe because it was because of COVID-19 making the population decrease in a fast manner if we're going to observe the intercensal of the 3 years. And number 3 is the birth and deaths per 1,000 population in the year 2001, 2011, and 2021. So the table 3 shows the birth and year and deaths. So we can see the birth per year seems to decrease, while on the other hand, the disease one keep on increasing. The table 4 shows the infant mortality rate per 1,000 births, shows that by the year 2001, it has the most documented infant mortality rate, reaching 3, and in the year 2011, it is slowly decreasing from the 2.6, and in the year 2021, it has a drastic decrease where it has 1.8 mortality rate. And in the table 5 shows the population ranging the age from 15 and population age from 64. In this table, we can see that the population age less than 15% is decreasing as the years go on, while the age range greater age from 64 increase as the time goes on. And this is the table 6, which encompasses the life expectancy at birth. In this table, life expectancy at birth is shown. Male life expectancy increases from 77, 80 to 81, while the female does the same also. It also increases as the years go on from 84, 86, and 87. And lastly, the life expectancy of both sexes comes from 80.5, 83, and 84. We can say that every time the years move, we expect an increase in both the sexes. And this is the table of the life expectancy of the both parties, male and female. And this is that in the table 7, it shows the GNI PP per capita US dollar. So it increases as the years go on from 25,170 to 33,440 to 43,480. So it increases as the years go on. Maybe the leader has a great influence on how this one increases. So the implication to the environment of our Japan is that the ongoing increase in Japan's population, which includes immigrants and foreign labor, may result in increased resources exploitation from the environment. And our conclusion for this day is that the table above, or what I have shown to you, are the data of the Japan's intercensal analysis. So Japan's population yearly percentage changes, fertility rate, country's share of world population, and Japan's global rank changes as the years go on. We are introduced to new things and gadgets because of Japan, with the help of the table that was gathered to show the appropriateness and accurateness of their data. We were able to distinguish how their country made drastic improvements through the years. With efforts and prayer, nothing is impossible to the Almighty. If we want to be acknowledged by others, we should also do our part. We should rely on others. Just like Japan did, they are rising without the help of the other country. If we have also the same conviction in life, maybe the Philippines will also be one of the leading countries in the world. Thank you and ma'asalam everyone.
Greetings everyone, my name is Rania S, and for this video, I will be presenting an intercensal analysis of Saudi Arabia from 2001, 2011, and 2021. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is one of the countries in the Middle East. It is the largest country in the Arabian Peninsula. Riyadh is the capital city. The country is also known as the land of the two holy mosques, as the two holiest places in Islam are located in it. The country is a member of the League of Arab States and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Its economy is petroleum-based. The country is known as the world's largest producer of oil, but in 2019, the United Arab Emirates surpassed Saudi Arabia and became the world's top oil exporter. The form of government is an absolute monarchy. This section will be analyzing Saudi Arabia's population, birth rate, death rate, net migration, infant mortality rate, fertility rate, gross national income, and urban percentage. Saudi Arabia's population growth from 2001 to 2011 is 33.32%, while from 2011 to 2021 is 25%. Based on the growth rate, the population is slowly declining. There were 26.4 births per 1,000 people during 2001, which has a 2.09% decline from 2000. In 2011, the birth rate recorded was 21.8 with a 2.23% decline from 2010. There was also a decline in 2021. The recorded data was 16.63, which has a 2.73% decline from 2020. Women get more interested in education and attaining higher achievements, which can cause the decline in the birth rate of the country. It is also due to the changes in the household structure and economic growth. There were 3.71 deaths per 1,000 people during 2001. In the year 2011, it decreased by 6.73% with 3.46 deaths per 1,000 people. By 2021, it was increased by 15.6%. Sittie conducted a study about the underlying causes of mortality in Saudi Arabia during the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. The results showed that the leading cause of deaths were the non-communicable diseases, mainly the cardiovascular diseases. Due to the lockdown during the pandemic, there was a reduction in the non-communicable diseases and road traffic accidents mortalities. The net migration per 1,000 population in 2001 was 2.61, and by 2011, it increased by 296.17% and totaled into 10.34. In 2021, it had 75.53% decline from 2011 and was 2.53. Due to the undergoing changes in terms of labor laws and migration policies, there were declines in the net migration in Saudi Arabia. Saudization is a policy implemented by the Ministry of Labor, whereby Saudi companies are required to hire Saudi nationals on quota basis. This caused most of the immigrants to lose their job and sent back to their home country. In 2001, Saudi Arabia has 18.5 infant mortality rate. After a decade, it decreased by 45.46% and became 10.09. In 2021, it continued to decrease by 43.50% and turned to 5.7. According to a study conducted in 2021, there are rapid improvements of the selected health outcomes in KSA, which may be attributable to improved access to care provided by the universal healthcare system. Government-sponsored free access to medication yields better health outcomes among population, which explain the low infant mortality rate. The fertility rate in 2001 was 3.95. In 2011, it dropped by 25.82% and became 2.93. It continued to drop in the year 2021 by 23.55% and became 2.24. According to a study conducted by Marcia Einhorn, the dramatic decline in fertility rate is due to the changing nature of the household structure, economic growth, and available contraception. Regardless of wealth, the fertility rate continues to drop. She added that it is due to women getting more educated and are seeking a different future for themselves. The fertility rate steadily decreased for the attempt to control the rapid growing population. The gross national income per capita in Saudi Arabia in 2001 was $8,520. After a decade, it was increased by 145.07% and was $20,880. By 2021, it was increased by 128.88% and was $47,790. According to Ziad Dawood, a chief emerging markets economist, that the higher oil output as OPEC Plus tapered its production cuts was the main reason behind Saudi Arabia's strong growth numbers. There was a 2.22% increase in urban population in Saudi Arabia from the year 2001 to 2011. From 2011 to 2021, there was a 1.7% increase. As Saudi Arabia is a developing country, people tend to move to urban cities where employment rates are higher. Saudi Arabia is considered as a developing country. Based on the Intercensal analysis, it can be observed that the country has continuous but slow population growth, low birth and fertility rate, low net migration rate, high economic development, and high urban population. Due to the economic development, population growth, and rapid urbanization, there was an increase in usage of water resources, high consumption patterns, resource-intensive lifestyles, and increased industrialization. The prominent environmental challenges due to this are the polluted well water, cement factories waste, increased emission of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, and land degradation and desertification. The slow population growth, low birth rate, and low migration rate help control the population. The higher the population, the more demand from the environment. The rapid urbanization increases the demand for electricity, housing, and sewages. This could increase building more infrastructures to accommodate the people living in the area. To conclude, Saudi Arabia's population is still growing, but the growth rate is declining due to the low birth and fertility rate. The healthcare system of the country improved, leading to a low infant mortality rate. The net migration rate also declines as illegal immigrants and other immigrants are sent back to their home country due to Southeastization. As a developing country, the gross national income per capita and urban population continue to increase. Rapid urbanization would increase demand in water, energy, and infrastructures. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Sittie Rayhanie B. Abdullah, and I'm going to discuss about the intersectional analysis of Indonesia. The Indonesia Intercensal analysis was an analysis of two 10-year gap consisting of the year 2001 to 2011 and 2011 to 2021. So the data was obtained in the provided secondary data of the world's population datasheet. So with the continuing significant population growth, it will not seem surprising that the target recommended in the consensus studies to make a family planning available to everyone, although it is very difficult to do a rigorous economic assessment of these costs and benefits of achieving this. So they estimate that 1,000 IDR of spending would pay back between 20 and 30-fold. Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous nation. It has 86% Muslims and the largest Islamic country. Although it is a secular state, Indonesia is separated by seas and clustered on islands. The largest cluster is on Java with some 130 million inhabitants, 60% of the country's population on an island. The size of New York State, Sumatra, much larger than Java, has less than a third of its people. Ethnically, the country is highly diverse with over 580 languages and dialects, but only 13 have more than 1 million speakers. So, Indonesia maintain a liberal foreign exchange system and has a few restrictions on transfer abroad, and generally it free allows conversions to and from region currencies. So the Rupiah Indonesian currency is linked to a basket of currencies of Indonesia's major trading partners, and the unitary exchange rate allows for fluctuation. So the economy of Indonesia is mainly used in agriculture, and also approximately 90% of the population is engaged in agriculture. So in the agricultural sector, Indonesia has become self-sufficient in rice and does not need to import the staple food as it had for years. So the Indonesia is the largest archipelago in the world. It consists of 5 major islands and 30 smaller groups. So there are total number of 17,500 islands, of which about 6,000 are inhabited straddling equator. So the archipelago is a crossroads between two oceans, the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. So the bridges two continents, Asia and Australia. Indonesia has many mountains, the highest of which are over 4,000 meters, and many of them are active volcanoes. There are tropical rainforests and jungles, as well as swampy mangroves areas, and Indonesia has most fertile land in the island of Java. Now let's talk about the intercensal analysis. This part introduced the data sheet of Indonesia for the 10-year gap intercensal analysis. So the Indonesia intercensal analysis was conducted with the objectives of providing information on the following characteristics or variables, such as population in million, birth rates, death rates, infant mortality rate, total fertility rate, population less than 15 years old, population greater than 64 years old, life expectancy at birth between male and female, life expectancy on both sexes, and GNIPP per capita in US dollars. The figure above presented the Indonesia's population in millions in the year 2001, 2011, and 2021. It showed that there is an increasing of 1 million population between 2001 to 2011, whereas there is a decrease of 2.7 millions in the year between 2011 to 2021. So more people necessitate that more resources in Indonesia, which means that the country's resources are depleted. So as the population grows, resources degraded at a faster rate. As humans deplete the Earth's resources, deforestation and biodiversity lose result from a lack of resources to meet the needs of an ever-increasing population. In the data presented at births per 1,000 population, it showed that there is an increase of birth rates as the year passes by. There is a 1 birth per 1,000 population decreases between the year 2001 to 2011, and there is also a decrease of 1 birth per 1,000 population between the year 2011 to 2021. It in the data, it suggested that Indonesia that decrease with birth rates are associated with lower growth. So a rapidly aging population and slower economic prosperity. A country's economy can grow in one of two ways: rising labor, the amount of people employed or hours work, or productivity, or two examples. Furthermore, the figures showed that there is an increase of death rates as the year passes by, and there is an increase of 1 death per 1,000 population in the year between 2001 to 2021, an increase of 2 deaths per 1,000 population between year 2011 to 2021. In Indonesia, rising mortalities or fatality rates indicated that it could have been impacted on a variety of environmental factors, and many studies have been conducted to investigate the effects of the surroundings on mortality, having concentrated on air pollutants and found that exposures to air pollutants is associated with an increased risk of death according to Corral et al. And other environmental factors influencing the death include: the figure above shows that the infant mortality rate per 1,000 births in Indonesia in the year 2001, 2011, and 2021. It demonstrates that there is a decrease of infant mortality rate, and there is a 0.4 decrease in between the year 2001 2011, and another decrease of 0.8 between the year 2011 to 2021. So from the child survival hypothesis, lowering a child mortality lowers fertility, that results in a lower population increase in Indonesia. So both these considerations have been noticed in low socio-economically disadvantaged populations. The figure above presented the population less than 15 years old and greater than 64 years old in the percentage. In the age of less than 15 years old, there is a decrease of population from 15 to 13% between the year 2001 to 2011, and from 13% to 12% between the year 2011 to 2021. So moreover, there is an increase of population in the age of more than 64 years old, and as an increase of 6% in the year between 2001 to 2011, and another increase of 6% in the year between 2011 to 2021. The figure above shows that the life expectancy at birth in male, female, and both sexes. It demonstrates that there is an increase of life expectancies at birth in male, female, and both sexes. So, in the year between 2001 to 2011, there is an increase 3% of the life expectancy at birth in male, and 2% increase in female, and 2.5 in both sexes. So, in the year between 2011 to 2021, life expectancy at birth in male, female, and both sexes increased at 1% each also. So, at life expectancy at birth, as an average lifespan in Indonesia has increased, so has the risk of illness, impairment, cognitive decline, and highly developed aging before death. So the longer a country's population lives, the healthier its citizens are thus. So life expectancy is taken into account when assessing health. So life expectancy at birth increases can be attributed to a variety of factors, including improved living standards, healthier lifestyles and educations, and as well as the increased access to high-quality health care that indicates in year measured in years and reported as total, as well as by the gender. Lastly, the figure above presented the GNI-PPP per capita. It showed that there is an increase of GNI-PP per capita as the year passes by, and there is an increase of 8,270 between the year 2011 to 2021, and an increase of 10,040 in the year 2011 to 2021. So GNP per capita is a great predictor of a current average citizens' living standards, and it means that a higher GNP per capita values are associated with factors such as higher literacy rates, infant mortality is decreasing. As a result, Indonesia's data demonstrated that the rising population tends to result in much more supplies being required by more people, so as well as worsening of the Earth's resources. So a lower birth rate also indicates a quicker aging society and a weaker economy, whereas an increase in the birth rate indicates a stronger economy. So the truth that there is a survival rates assumes there are or environmental that impact death. The infant mortality rate indicates that the country's fertility and population are declining. For the population ranging less than 15 years old and greater than 65 years old, it implied that there is also a coercion of resources in this region. Increased life expectancies for both sexes indicate improved living condition, ways of life, youth development, and other factors. So the Indonesia's GNP per capita had already increased over the years. It indicates a high standard of living and a high rate of literacy. So I therefore conclude that the Indonesia's populations will continue to grow for the next few decades, but it properly managed, this can create a both economic growth and better welfare. And thank you for listening.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad v. SICAG and I'm going to present my intercensal analysis on China. So this paper will be an intercensal analysis of China from 2001, 2011, and 2021. It would first give a background for the country, basic information about some of its demographics, location, and form of government. The main objective would be to dive into China's population, birth rate, death rate, total fertility rate, life expectancy, gross national income, infant mortality rate, and urban percentage through 2 decades by presenting it in graphs and tables and give interpretations and explanations on these variables through intensive literature review. Implications of these variables to the environment will also be. China is the world's most populous country with a population of more than 1.4 billion people. It is a unified multi-ethnic country with the Han nationality as the main nation. It covers approximately 9,600,000 square kilometers and is the third largest country by total area. China is bordered by 14 countries, neighboring to 8 countries in East Asia. China is governed by the Communist Party of China. It has 22 provinces, 5 autonomous regions, 4 direct control municipalities, and 2 special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macau. Since the economic reform took place in 1978, China has emerged on the international stage as the fastest growing powerhouse in Southeast Asia. Based on the figure, we can see that China's population increased from 1,273,000,000 in 2001 to 1,354,000,000 in 2011 to 1,412,000,000 in 2021. There was an increase of 6.02% in the population from 2001 to 2011 with an average growth rate of 0.6% per year. From 2011 to 2021, the growth rate was 4.7% in the population and an average growth rate of 0.47% per year. What we can infer from this is China's population is increasing, but its growth rate is decreasing. According to Pittenger, decreasing birth rates, fertility rates, and increasing mortality rates, which are evident in China, are factors that can decrease population growth. For China's birth rate, there were 15 births per 1,000 in China during 2001. After a decade, in 2011, it decreased by 20% and became 12 births per 1,000. And by 2021, it decreased again by 50% and became 6 births per 1,000. Based on the figure, we can say that China continues to face a decreasing trend in birth rate, even though the one-child policy has been lifted in 2016. According to Jung, this could be due to social changes, increasing cost of child care and education, and an aging population. There is also the lack of supporting measures to help families raise children, poor social security systems for retirees, and the long working hours that professionals face as major hurdles for families to consider getting married or giving birth to children. For China's total fertility rate, in 2001, it was 1.8. After a decade, in 2011, it dropped by 16.66% and became 1.5 children per woman. And after another decade, in 2021, it dropped again by 13.33% and became 1.3 children per woman. Based on the figures above, we can say that China has a decreasing trend in total fertility rate. According to Zhang et al., this change has been driven increasingly by the remarkable social, economic, and cultural transformation in the country and an available means of birth control, since as of 2011, more than 80% of Chinese married couples are using birth control methods. Furthermore, gender inequality and discrimination against women also contribute to China's problem by convincing many women that they simply cannot afford to have children. For China's death rates, there were 6 deaths per 1,000 in 2001, and in 2011 there were 7 deaths per 1,000, an increase of 16.67% in a decade. The death rate was still the same in 2021 though. The increase in China's death rate can be attributed to its aging population. In 2001, only 7% of the total population has the ages of 65 and above. But in 2011, the percentage of the population having an age of 65 or above increased to 9%, with life expectancy of 74 years old. And this could have caused the increase in mortality rate. According to Cheng, population aging was associated with increase in deaths in high, upper middle, and lower middle income countries. In 2021, Chinese with ages 65 and above increased to 14% of the population, but life expectancy also increased up to 77 years old, a possible reason why there is no significant change in the death rate from 2011 to 2021. For the life expectancy of Chinese, there is an increase in the trend of life expectancy from 2001 to 2021. From 71 for both sexes in 2001, then 74 for both sexes in 2011, and then 77 in 2021. Females have been shown to have higher life expectancies than males in general, and this is most likely due to physiological differences. This increasing trend of life expectancy in both sexes could be due to the increasing values of gross national income per capita and decreasing values of infant mortality levels in China in the past 2 decades. For China's gross national income per capita, it has increased from $3,550 in 2001 to $6,890 in 2011, and then $17,200 per capita in 2021, a total of 484.507% increase in 2 decades. According to Morrison, economists generally attribute much of China's rapid economic growth to 2 main factors: large-scale capital investments in the form of domestic savings and foreign investments, and rapid productivity growth. And then for China's infant mortality rate, as we can see from the figure, death rates decreased from 31 in 2001 to 17 in 2011 and then to only 9 deaths per 1,000 in 2021. A total decrease of 70.97% in 2 decades. According to Su et al., infant mortality rate is negatively correlated to GNI per capita because increase in GNI per capita means higher standards of living of each people, allowing them to access to better health services, meaning if a country's GNI increases, it is most likely that its infant mortality rate decreases, and vice versa. For China's urban percentage, from 2011 to 2021, there was a 14% increase in urban population in China, according to Flor Cruz. Lured by the prospect of wages much greater than those available in the countryside, millions of farmers headed for urban areas in China. The inflow of foreign direct investment created massive employment opportunities, which fostered urban population growth. And now we are on the implications to the environment. With the largest population in the world, China's total energy-related emissions constitutes nearly 1/3 of all emissions globally. But based on the Intercensal analysis done, China's population growth is on a downward trend based on its decreasing birth rate, fertility rate, infant mortality rate, and increasing death rate. And this is good news environmentally speaking, since less people would also mean lesser use of energy and CO2 emissions, lesser trees being cut down, lesser cattle to farm, and lesser waste and pollution. According to Turi, the urbanization of China's population, however, will increase aggregate energy use despite efficiencies in new technologies, and the increased consumption of energy is likely to have deleterious environmental effects. Urban consumption of energy creates heat islands that can change local weather patterns and weather downwind from the heat islands. It is important to note that these heat islands become traps for atmospheric pollutants. Cloudiness and fog occur with greater frequency, precipitation would increase, thunderstorms and hailstorms would become much more frequent. Urban areas affect not only the weather patterns but also the runoff patterns for water. Urban areas generally generate more rain, but they reduce the infiltration of water and lower the water tables. This means that runoff occurs more rapidly with greater peak flows. Flood volume increases, as do floods and water pollution downstream. So what we can conclude from this is that China's population growth rate is on a decreasing trend due to the decreasing birth rates, fertility rates, and infant mortality rates that has been brought by societal transformation and economic progress in the country. And at this rate, China's population would start dropping by 2025. This expected decrease in China's population is beneficial for the environment as it would decrease energy consumption and waste production, but the increasing urbanization is something to be alarmed of as it is a threat to the environment.
Sawadika, Sawadikun. My name is JALIL Jenan, and today I'll be presenting to you my in-depth intercensal analysis in Thailand, which tackles, analyzes, and discusses the population estimates of Thailand in a 10-year interval before and after, particularly in the year 2001, 2011, and 2021. And also a brief background information about the country will be provided. So brace yourself, guys. So this is the geographical location of Thailand. So Thailand, which has about the same land area as Spain or France, consists of two broad geographic areas, a larger main section in the north and a smaller peninsular extension in the south. So the main body of the country is surrounded by Myanmar to the west, Laos to the north and east, Cambodia to the southeast, and the Gulf of Thailand to the south. Peninsular Thailand stretches southward from the southwestern corner of the country along the eastern edge of the Malay Peninsula. Thailand is a constitutional monarchy with the monarch as the head of state. The country has had 17 constitutions, the most recent drafted in 2007. With the Prime Minister as head of government, power is exercised by the bicameral National Assembly, the Council of Ministers, and the courts in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and laws passed by the National Assembly. The Constitution of 2007 provides for the direct election of members of the lower house of the Assembly, the House of Representatives, to 4-year terms or 5/6 from single-member districts and the remainder based on proportional representation from the political parties. It also requires the Prime Minister to be a member of the House of Representatives. Members of the upper house, the Senate, are directly elected to 6-year terms. Legislation originates in the House of Representatives, but it can be modified or rejected by the Senate. The variables that will be discussed in this presentation will be the following in particular order: population, which is expressed in millions; life expectancy at birth for both male and female; percent of population, ages below 15 and above 65 years old; infant mortality rate; total fertility rate; birth and death per 1,000 population, and rate of natural increase. So each of these variable will be supported by the main sources, the given PRB data sheets, year 2001, 2011, and 2021 respectively. The data will be presented through bar graphs with title and column or row labeled properly, and then followed by a proper interpretation discussion with citations from online sources as applicable. So we have the first one, population expressed in millions. So we can see the rapid increase in population between 2001 and 2011 and a slight decrease between 2011 and 2021. So as of January 2022 this year, the population of Thailand was estimated to be 70.2 million people. This is an increase of 0.38% compared to population of the year before. In 2021, the natural increase was positive as the number of births exceeded the number of deaths. Due to external migration, the population increased by 20,993. The sex ratio of the total population was 0.966, which is 966 males per 1,000 females, which is lower than global sex ratio. The global sex ratio in the world was approximately 1,016 males to 1,000 females as of 2021. Second, we have the life expectancy at birth for both male and female. The total life expectancy for both sexes at birth for Thailand is 73.6 years. This is above the average life expectancy at birth of the global population, which is about 71 years, according to Population Division of the Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. The third one is we have the percent of population ages below 15 and above 65 years old. So for below 15, there is a slight decrease between 2001 to 2011 and 2011 to 2021 compared sa 65 above 65 na they are increasing from 2001 until 2021. As of December 2021, the population of those who were no older than 15 years old in Thailand amounted to approximately 11.7 million, which was the highest compared to other age group. Despite a large portion of adolescents in the country, Thailand is facing a growing aging population in recent years. Rapid aging in Thailand, occurring in just 22 years, is primarily due to improvements in the healthcare system and successful government birth control campaigns. The fourth one is infant mortality rate per 1,000 births. So we can see the decrease in the infant mortality rate from 2001, then 2011, and then 2021. So, ang laki ng decrease. So, the leading causes of neonatal deaths were prematurity, respiratory problems, congenital malformation, birth asphyxia, and infection. The most prevalent diagnosis for admissions was neonatal jaundice, disorders related to short gestation, respiratory disorders, and neonatal infection. The fifth one is the total fertility rate. So as we can see on the graph, there is a slight decrease from 1.8 in 2001, 1.6 in 2011, and 1.4 in 2021. So the main reasons for this phenomenon were the widespread adoption of family planning among women, delayed marriage, and increased celibacy. And we have the sixth one, births per 1,000 population. So there is still a slight decrease of birth per 1,000 population in Thailand. In 2020, birth rate for Thailand was 10 per 1,000 people. Between 1971 and 2020, birth rate of Thailand was declining at a moderating rate to shrink from 36.7 per 1,000 people in 1971 to 10 per 1,000 people in 2020. The Director General of the Department of Health said the drop in population numbers can be traced back to a family planning policy which was first launched in 1970. So second to the last one, we have death per 1,000 population. So we can see in the bar graph the increasing rate of death per 1,000 population in Thailand. From 2001, we have 6, nag-increase ng isa in 2011, and same also sa 2021. So we have 8. So on a study conducted by Chalapati et al. 2010, the findings suggest that the leading causes of death in Thailand among males are stroke, transport accidents, HIV/AIDS, ischemic heart disease, and chronic obstructive lung diseases. And same also with the female. We have stroke, diabetes, ischemic heart disease, HIV/AIDS, and renal diseases. So the last one, we have the rate of natural increase. So there is a decrease in rate of natural increase from 2001 to 2021. So rate of natural increase per 1,000 people reached negative 10.8 persons in 2050 in Thailand, according to the National Statistical Office. This is 4.06% less than in the previous year. Historically, rate of natural increase per 1,000 people in Thailand reached an all-time high of 30.3 persons in 1964, an all-time low of negative 10.8 persons in 2050. Thailand has been ranked 166th within the group of 174 countries we follow in terms of interest rate of natural increase per 1,000 people. So, what are the implications of those variables mentioned to the environment, particularly Thailand's environment? So, as Thailand becomes a more developed country and as its population grows, there's a higher demand for natural resources including oil, gas, mineral deposits, water, food, shelter, clothing, and infrastructure such as buildings, roads, highways, public transportations, and many more to meet the needs of the people and its economy. Nonetheless, this higher demand has its negative impacts to Thailand's environment, such as loss of biodiversity and declining wildlife populations, deforestation, water scarcity, leading to poor sanitation and air and water pollution. In addition to that, since Thailand is exceptionally vulnerable to small changes in climate, slightly warmer surface temperatures will destroy the rice crops that feed the population and bolster the economy, and a few centimeters of sea level rise will submerge the capital city and devastate coastal tourism. All these problems will have an effect not just the quality of life of the Thai people and its economy, but most importantly, it will deteriorate the environment Thailand has. Thus, all stakeholders should take swift actions to address challenges of rapid population growth and alter the dynamics between population, natural resources, and climate change and its adaptation. Kapkun ka! Thank you for listening!
Good morning po, my name is Rayhanie, and in this video we will be discussing about my intercensal analysis on Hong Kong's economy and its women. Hong Kong is one of the richest countries in the world and has increasing GDP and GNI per capita each decade. Hong Kong's economy is extremely service-oriented, and due to low taxation, it is a heaven for businesses and investors. But there are also trends that could be seen moving alongside the country's economic development. And many of these trends involve the women of this highly developed country. But first off, let's talk about the movement of the GNI and GDP of Hong Kong, which is quite obvious based on the world population data sheets provided by BRP, especially focusing on the GNI of the country according to WPDS in 2001, 2011, and 2021. Hong Kong's GNI trend per capita goes from $22,570 in 2001 that went up to $44,540 in 2011 and grew up to $62,510 in 2021. And now let's talk about the trends that moved alongside this massive economic trend of Hong Kong. And it is also important to note that most of these trends involve the women of this highly developed country. Number 1, the fertility rate. Based on PRP's WPDS, it is quite obvious that the trend of fertility rate in Hong Kong has been going downwards. From a fertility rate of 1.3 in 1990s and 1.0 in 2001, it went as low as 0.9 in 2020. To me, this trend made quite a lot of sense. With how fast the country is developing, Hong Kong's women must have been very competitive and busy as they struggle with society. I believe that their schedules are way too hectic for having children. Next is the trend of pregnancy ages in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, most women have children at ages 20 to 34. And in 2020, 37% of the population have children at ages higher than 35. In contrast, from 2% in 1990s, women involved in early pregnancy went to astonishing 0% in 2020. I guess Hong Kong women prefer being more stable than having their own children at a young age. Finally, life expectancy. This trend is actually very important to note. It is inevitable for the lives of the citizens of highly developed countries to become better as their countries become more competent economically and more developed. Furthermore, the life expectancy rates of citizens could also be used as basis for examining how prosperous a country is. In Hong Kong, life expectancy in 2001 was 82 years for females. In 2011, along with the growth of the economy of Hong Kong based on the growth of the GNI per capita of the country, the female life expectancy went up to 86 years of age. And in 2021, it significantly became higher alongside with the massive growth of the country's GNI when female life expectancy went up to 88 years of age. But the rapid development of Hong Kong's economy came with a very disastrous consequence. Behind Hong Kong's glamorous and tall buildings and skyscrapers is a completely different and tragic reality. According to Emma Russell, Hong Kong's careless management of garbage has borne a very terrible consequence. It bore an environmental crisis where Hong Kong's environment degraded under the pollution of garbage and other waste materials. Hong Kong's millions of tons of waste every year have piled up over the years and decades of careless garbage management. And now the world is spectating how Hong Kong will manage this crisis in the future for the country and its environment's well-being. In conclusion, Hong Kong's economic development and advancement help its citizens have a better life. It can be observed based on the increased GNI of the country and the life expectancy of its citizens. As a consequence of this development and advancement, in women, pregnancy rates and fertility rate went lower over the course of decades. On another scale, Hong Kong's development caused for pollution and environmental degradation to worsen in the country.
A pleasant day everyone, especially to you, Ma'am Mary Ann. So today I will be reporting about my chosen country and its intercensal analysis. So this intercensal analysis is very significant in order to determine whether there is an improvement or development in a certain country. It seeks to compare the desired and actual outcomes and pinpoint opportunities for improvement. So basically, I will be presenting to you a 10-year gap analysis of Canada through the help of the following variables, which I will be discussed later on. But before that, let's have first a background information about my chosen country. So this is the geographical map of the Canada with a landmass of 9.1 million square kilometers. Canada is the second largest country in the world next to Russia in terms of area and occupies 2/5 of the North American continent. It is bordered by 3 oceans, the Pacific, Atlantic, and Arctic Ocean. So with regards to its government, the British monarch is the head of state of Canada. The monarch is represented by a governor-general who has very limited powers. Laws are made by Canada's elected federal government, and that includes a parliament and a prime minister. So today, Canada has been leading worldwide in agricultural production, telecommunications, and energy technologies, where vast majority of Canada's exports go to the United States. So these are the following variables with its underlying definitions. So I guess you're already familiar with these terms and also its meaning. So now let's proceed to our main objective, which is the intercensal analysis of Canada. for our first variable, which is the population size. So presented on this figure is a graph on the 10-year population of Canada from year 2001 until year 2021. So based on the given data, year 2001 has 30,880,073 people recorded, while year 2011 has 34,539,159, and on the year 2021 there are 38,067,983. So it shows that in between year 2001 and 2011 there is an 11.85 increase, while between year 2011 to year 2021 there is a 10.22 increase in population. So according to Hill, Canada's population represents an annual growth rate of 1.4%, which is the highest among G7 countries or world's advanced economic countries. So our next variable is the life expectancy of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. So based on the given graph, year 2001 has 79.25, while year 2011 has 81.38, and year 2021 has 82.66. And it shows that between this year 2001 to year 2011, there is a 2.69 increase in life expectancy, while between year 2011 to year 2021, there is only a 1.57 increase in life expectancy from this gap. So according to Canada Protection Plan, there are two important indicators for life expectancy: how long the average Canadian is expected to live and how long an individual is expected to live. It is important to keep in mind that it will be used as an indicator of the health outcomes of the country. As a result, groups and individuals can use this data to make positive decisions that affect their life expectancy. Our third variable is the total fertility rate of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. So it shows that on year 2001 there is 1.53% births per woman, year 2011 has 1.61%, while year 2021 has 1.5% fertility rate. And based on the graph, it shows that between year 2001 to 2011, there is a 5.28 increase in fertility, while in year 2011 to year 2021, there is a decline with 7.1% fertility rate. So according to Statistics Canada, the rate of fertility has fallen so low in Canada that the replacement of the present generation is no longer assured. Canadians now have fewer children later in their lives, and more may choose to forgo parenthood altogether. This low fertility rate is often used as an economic justification for increasing immigration levels. Next is the death rate of Canada from year 2001 to year 2021. And based on the graph, it shows that there is a constant rate from the year 2001 to 2011 with 7.2% death rate, while in year 2021, there is a 7.85%. So between year 2011 to 2021, there is an increase of 8.25% death rate. According to the statistical report by Alf Lane, two of the most common causes of death in Canada and among other developed countries is cardiovascular disease and cancer. However, the number of deaths and causes vary by province and territory, age group, and gender. One major health issue of the concern that Canada shares with its neighbor to the south is the ongoing opioid crisis. Some provinces have been hit harder than the others, with death rate from opioid overdose in British Columbia nearly double the national average. Next is the net migration rate from year 2001 to year 2021. So it shows that on year 2001, it has 6.12% net migration rate. Year 2011 has 7.45% migration rate, while in year 2021, it has 6.28% migration rate. And between year 2001 to year 2011, it has an increase of 21.63%, while between year 2011 to 2021, it declines to 15.6%. So When the numbers of immigrants is larger than the number of emigrants, a positive net migration rate occurs. However, there are factors that leads to the decline in migration rate in Canada. A recent online survey shows that 30% of young immigrants are likely to leave the country, and the top reasons that have been cited for leaving Canada is due to the cost of living, belied professional and status expectations. Next is the poverty rate from the year 1997 to 2017. So based on the graph, 1997 has 1% poverty rate, while 2017 has 0.5%, and on 2017 it has 0.7%. So it shows that between year 1997 to 2007, there is a decline of 50%, while between 2007 to year 2017, there is an increase of poverty rate with 40%. So there are factors why the poverty rate started to increase on the year 2007 until 2017. One of the factors is the increased poverty is due to the inequality of incomes. For instance, the fall in income was driven by the stagnant earnings, but this did not affect the highest earners. Next variable is the crime rate from year 1998 to 2018. So it shows that on year 1998, it has 1.86% crime rate, which is slightly higher compared to the year 2008 with 1.84%, while in year 2018, there is a 1.76% crime rate. And between this year 1998 to 2008, there is a decline on the crime rate in Canada with 1.07%, while on year 2008 to 2018, it even declines to 4.35%. So according to Statista.com, the decline rate of these crimes, apart from the influences of the general decline in crime, stem from the advances of the anti-theft technology. Now for our last variable, which is the military size of Canada from year 1998 to 2018. So based on the data, it shows that on year 1998, it has 69,950 personnel who joined the military, while year 2008, it has 64,000 personnel, while in year 2018, it has a 72,400 personnel. So between year 1998 to 2008, it declines to 8.5% who joined the military, while between year 2008 to 2018, it increases to 13.12%. So the data presented indicates the significant role of the military in the country of Canada, especially on the time of crisis. So these armed forces in Canada has various functions such as search and rescue, patrolling airspace and territorial waters, supporting anti-drug operations, and helping the aftermath of natural disasters. Implications to the environment. Since the start of industrialization, world's population continues to grow rapidly, so as the dramatic impacts on the Earth's climate and ecosystems. So because of these anthropogenic activities, it greatly affects the Earth system in a variety of ways, such as the depletion of natural resources and increased burning of fossil fuels for energy to generate electricity. And as the populations increase in Canada, more lands are being used for agricultural purposes, and in turn can lead to a decrease in species populations, geographic ranges, biodiversity, and alter interactions among organisms. The greater also the life expectancy in Canada, and the more Canadian women give birth to children every year, or what we call the fertility rate, the more people will also utilize and abuse the natural resources. In relation to military size, the more Canadian who will join the armed forces, the greater also the effect it can do to the environment. So for instance, aside from the human casualty, war can also lead to land pollution and deforestation, destruction of natural resources, and damage to infrastructures. If this continue to persist, there will be an increase in poverty rate, crime rate, as well as death rate. It also affects the rate of migration in Canada as people tend to seek for a place where there is no scarcity of resources and has a better social and economic opportunities. So to conclude, this paper was able to provide a comprehensive intercensal analysis about Canada using the following variables being presented. So based on the data sets that are being discussed, it showed how Canada have changed through the years through the 10-year gap analysis. Through this also, we can determine the status of a certain country just like Canada, and we can compare the desired and actual outcomes in order to pinpoint possible opportunities for improvement. With regards to its implication to the environment, through this intercensal analysis, we can create a possible intervention in order to mitigate the continuous depletion of the natural resources and the degradation of the ecosystem in Canada, which are caused by these various anthropogenic activities. So I guess that's all. Thank you everyone for listening.
Hello everyone, I am Jamaica Moana MIRA-ATO, and I will be presenting to you my intercensal analysis on India's environmental sociology. This covers the intercensal analysis of the country India. The variables analyzed are as follows: population, fertility rate, mortality rate, sex ratio, literacy rate, life expectancy, religion, and migration. Such variables are analyzed and interpreted through intercensal analysis, which employs a 10-year gap analysis to see the difference among variables a decade after. In this paper, datasets in 2001, 2011, and 2021 are utilized accordingly. The country. India is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Particularly, it is home to the Indus civilization, otherwise known as Indus Valley or the Harappan civilization, which is one of the world's 3 ancient civilizations, along with Mesopotamia and the ancient Egypt. From 1858, British ruled over the Indian subcontinent until it claimed its independence in 1947. Today, India is widely known to be the second most populous country in the world after China. All across the world, India's richness in its cultural heritage is popularly appreciated, evident in the thousands of international tourist arrivals it accommodates yearly. Not only do tourists visit it for its distinct culture, but also for its wide array of natural wonders, one of which is the Himalayas, the highest mountain region in the world that covers 16.2% of country's total geographical area and forms the northern boundary of the country. The intercensal analysis. In a nation, a census is employed to provide a detailed and authentic information of its sociocultural and demographic data. Census is conducted under the provisions of the Census Act 1948, and in India, this data is collected every 10 years. Data shows that in the year 2001, India's population is at 1.033 billion. In this time frame, India is second to China in countries that has crossed the 1 billion mark. In 2011, the population of India stood at 1.24 billion. The percentage decadal growth during 2001 to 2011 was 17.70%, 3.84% lower than 1991 to 2001 period, which has registered the sharpest decline since independence. The growth rate in 2011 is 17.64% in comparison to 21.15% in 2001. The numbers maintained a steady growth as in 2021. India's population has reached over 1.39 billion with a growth rate of 0.99%. India's growth in population can be explained by 2 important reasons. One is that the birth rate is higher than the death rate and the fertility rate is far more than necessary. Apart from these, social issues present in the country also take part in its population inflation, such as child marriage, illiteracy, and poverty, which is rampant in the country. According to World Bank, the fertility rate of India in 2001 was 3.24 births per woman for the decade 2011 to 2021, with 2011 being that 2.51 and 2021 2.18. There is still a continuous decline in the total fertility rate of India. There is an apparent decrease in the numbers, and this is believed to be so as fertility decline is also attributed to increased literacy, urbanization, industrialization, modern communication, and women's status. All these evident to the advent of time. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare Government of India has long established a national program for family planning in 1952, the first in the whole world, and it is sufficient to say that the creation of the aforementioned program has been adequately helpful in the decrease of the nation's fertility rates. In the early times, food shortages, insanitary conditions, diseases, and long and recurrent wars were causes of high mortality rates. No solution nor cure is readily available, which in turn gave rise to a high toll in death rates. Crude death rate indicates the number of deaths occurring during the year per 1,000 population, estimated at mid-year. In 2001, death rate in India was at 8.56 and has since continually declined. By 2011, death rate was on 7.393 and was on a stable downward until the year 2021, wherein death rates were at 7.344. The decline in mortality can be explained by various cases. Control of epidemics, which were at once rampant, has been controlled. The urbanization of population, in which Indians from rural areas have transferred to the urban life and have since had a better access to facilities that enforce health. The spread of education, which eradicated superstitious and fatalist attitudes toward life and gave way to rational thinking. Life expectancy, as when the economy continually grows, the government has also provided their constituents with a better life, especially in regards to public health and safety. Sex ratio is used to describe the number of females per 1,000 males. It is a valuable source in gaining knowledge of the women in India and the ratio of women to that of men in India for the eventual breeding potential of both sexes in the future. Census 2001 revealed that the sex ratio stands at 933 female to that of 1,000 males in the country as a whole. This was a welcome improvement, as from the previous decade, there were only 927 females to that of 1,000 males. By the year 2011, census have shown a 7-point increase in sex ratio, going from 933 in 2001 to 940 females per 1,000 males in 2011. The major cause of such decrease in the number of female ratio to that of its male counterpart is the violent treatment set upon a girl child at the time of birth. Infanticide, particularly on female babies, are rampant, which is a result of the sex selection process deeply engraved to India's preference for sons, as they believe that their sons would forward the family legacy as opposed to their daughters who would just cost them dowries. Women are generally discriminated against and excluded in the society in the subject of country's regressive traditions. According to the United Nations, population by gender capture the specific realities of life among men and women in a given territory. India is a country known to be so held with their traditions and cultures, one of which has even become a social issue among its population, that is, gender inequality. Girls are at risk of child marriage, adolescent pregnancy, child domestic labor, poor education and health, sexual abuse, exploitation, and violence as a result of gender discrimination and social norms and practices. Finally, on Census 2021 revealed that sex ratio in India has been 1,020 females as to 1,000 males, a female majority for the first time in its history. There were varying reactions to this, as experts have advised caution in interpreting the numbers, since the survey covers only about 630,000 of India's 300 million households. The census surveys the entire population of the country and therefore provides a more accurate account of the overall sex ratio, the director of the Population Fund of India, Poonam Motrija, stated. However, citizens and news outlets alike see this as a massive achievement, as India, for many years, has been popularly dubbed as the country of missing women, a phrase first used in an essay by Nobel Prize-winning economist Amartya Sen in 1990, when the gender ratio had hit rock bottom at 927 women for every 1,000 men. Literacy plays a fundamental role in everyday life, from recognizing the numbers on your watch to reading food labels in the supermarket, as well as reading road signs. When the entirety of the population is taken into account, literacy is essential. According to World Bank, higher literacy rates are closely associated with the overall operation of a nation. This would mean healthier populations, less crime, greater economic growth, and higher employment rates. The census definition of literacy is the ability to read and write any one language is widely held in India. According to the census, illiterates are those who lack the ability to read and write in a population aged 7 and up. On the other hand, literacy rate is the percentage of people who are literate in a population of the same age. In 2014, a report by UNESCO have revealed that India has the largest population of illiterate adults in the world, with 287 million, which is 37% of the global total. In the year 2001, India's literacy rate was at 65.83%, with literacy rate for males at 75.85% and that for females at 54.16%. By 2011, the numbers have increased to 74.04%, 82.4% for males, and 65.46% for females. Within this decade, there is a 6.21% increase for males and a 11.3% increase for females. By the next census of India in 2021, it has been revealed that both 2011 and 2021 share the same percentage, except that of India's literacy rate with men. This has been largely due to the fact that the Constitution of India has made several laws bridging education for all. To name a few, education for minorities, Article 30 of the Indian Constitution gives all minorities the right to establish and administer institutions of their own choice. Free and compulsory education instructs the state to ensure that all citizens receive free education and equality of opportunity in educational institutions. The eyes of law does not discriminate against basis of status, caste, sex, class, or creed. The number of years a newborn infant would live if current mortality patterns at the time of birth remained constant throughout his or her life is called life expectancy at birth. It is a measure that is widely used to assess the population health of a country. It displays the general mortality level of a population and summarizes the mortality pattern that prevails throughout all age groups in a given year. From the year 2001, India's life expectancy was at 62.9. The numbers have steadily increased until 2010, which was at 66.7. There was a rise of 3.8 within this particular decade. In 2011, life expectancy was at 67.1. Similar to the previous decade, there was also a steady increase in its values until 2021, which showed a life expectancy of 69.8 years. Increase in life expectancy in India was driven mainly by improvements in sanitation, housing and education, which led to a steady decline in mortality. Many religions have flourished at a great extent in the very nation of India. Hence, it has provided a wonderful kaleidoscope of the country's social composition. Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism have originated here, as well as believers of major religions such as Islam and Christianity also made India its home. Of the total population of India in 2001, Hindus account for the 80.5% of the population, followed by Muslims at 13.4% and Christians at 2.3% of the population. In 2011, Hinduism remained to be the dominant religion in the country with a percentage of 79.8%, followed by Islam at 14.2% and Christianity at 2.3%. In this decade, there is an apparent increase in each religion. However, Hinduism remained to be the dominant among others. For the year 2021, no data was available yet. There are two types of migration that is recognized by India: migration by birthplace and migration by last place of residence. Migrants by place of birth are those individuals who are enumerated at a village or town at the time of census other than their place of birth. On the other hand, an individual is considered to be a migrant by place of last residence if the place in which he is enumerated during the census is other than his place of immediate last residence. The significance of understanding migration trends lies in the fact that the census also records the reasons for the migration, such as work or employment, business, education, marriage, moved after birth, moved with household, and any other. According to the census of India in 2001, migration in the country was at 309 million. A steady increase in migration has followed until the year 2011, wherein data revealed that there were 450 million migrants. An apparent increase of 45% is observed. This is well above the population's growth rate of 18% between 2001 and 2011. The proportion of domestic immigrants in the population increased from 30% in 2001 to 37% in 2011. For the year 2021, there was no data available yet. However, it was found to have declined by 3.52% from the previous year, 2020. So what does this all imply to the environment? In a country as densely populated as India, one could readily expect that the variables to be studied upon would be of great values. India, in its continuously growing number of population, greatly affects the environment in a way that it deposits pressure on land, encourages deforestation and water scarcity and water pollution. More influx of people would inevitably put more demands on the planet, as more people would require more food, water, sanitation, homes, public services, and amenities. More until humanity's limited pool of resources is continually depleted. There will be an increase in extraction of resources from the environment. These resources include fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal, minerals, trees, water, and wildlife, especially in the oceans. The increase of consumption levels in these areas put forth the growing concern on serious environmental problems, which include water contamination, air pollution, and global warming. Based on analysis, it has been found that India's population is continually growing, and similar to what experts predict, it may exceed the values of China in terms of population by the coming years. Sex ratio in India continue to be asymmetrical until social issues pertaining sex preferences are eradicated and empowerment among women of India is upheld.